Recently, I was filming a few clips for my bookshelf tour and I realized that I have no idea how many books I own, which felt a little weird, and suddenly I had this urge to catalog every single book that I own. I thought it could be fun to see my entire collection in one spreadsheet, so I opened a page on Notion, which I use for a lot of aspects in my life. I think it is a great organization tool, especially for lists like this one. And on this very random rainy day, I started counting and writing down every single book that's on my bookshelves. We still have quite a long bit to go, but I thought I could share this process with all of you, and I would also be curious to hear if any of you do the same. Do you keep track of all the books that you own, of the ones that you've read, the ones that still need to be read, and other fun categories that you might have? I would love to hear all about that. Before we proceed, I feel like it is important for me to just share a couple of disclaimers, let's just say. The first one is, of course, that we all have different book collections, and to me, every single one of those is unique, it is beautiful, it is extremely personal. No matter how many books you own, or even if you don't own any books, all of us have different approaches to that, and we of course all live in different circumstances that allow us to own a lot of books or not. I recognize that I am privileged in the sense that I was able to afford a lot of the books that I own, and mostly I am extremely lucky because I am surrounded by family and friends who are extremely kind and gifted me a big part of the books that I own as well. This is also a collection that I have been gathering for the past, I would say, at least 10 years, so it is a long time, of course, and that's why I'm able to create such a nice little home library. But any book collection is valid. It doesn't make you a better or worse reader, because there's no such thing. It's your love of stories that matter, not the amount of books you own. And on a similar note, it also does not make you a good or bad reader, the amount of read and unread books that you own. Again, that's a very personal thing, and you are on your own reading journey, which is beautiful. I like to look at all of my unread books as this ocean of possibilities and future stories that I can get myself lost in. So if you love stories, if whenever you read a book it brings you joy and fulfillment, that's exactly what matters. Now, when it comes to the categories that I decided to have for this organization, at least for now, I am keeping it quite simple. It might change as time goes by. I might add a few more categories here and there, especially whenever I finish a book. I might, for instance, write down the number of pages it had, or in which format I read it, for instance. But those are all details that I would like to collect later. Right now I am focusing more on writing down the title of the book, the author, the country, genre, if I read it or not, and my rating in case I did read the book already. As for the country, I usually write down the country in which the author was born, but that can change as well. It depends on each case. For instance, usually if an author was born in a certain country but then moved right away and lived perhaps all of their lives in a different place, then I will write down that country. So it is a little subjective. It depends on each book, of course. As for my read or unread categories, I also have one for my current reads, and then also a little exception, and I will give you an example. So for some books, instead of writing down if I read them or not, I will just add them to the collector pile, because these are books that I'm not exactly supposed to read back to back. I own them mostly to do some research, for instance, or to learn more about a certain subject. For instance, art books or photography books. These are just beautiful, stunning books that you get to look at and learn more about each artist's work, for instance. So those I will add to their own special category, and maybe in the future, if I do read any of these back to back, then I will add them as being read. But for now, they have their own little special place. I started this a few days ago, and of course I am still not done, but right now I have some time, so I thought I could do some more progress. I am now moving to the shelf that's above this one. So this one right here that has a lot of my classics, for instance, and some fantasy as well. I usually start on that side and then move along until the end of the bookshelf on the other side. Sometimes I will not write down the genre of the book if I haven't read it, because I'm not exactly sure where I should place it. Right now for the options I have literary fiction, fantasy, horror, mythology, retellings, non-fiction, biography, memoir. I should probably be looking at the list. So again, we have poetry, collection, short stories, literary fiction, anthology, classics, philosophy, horror, Gothic, letters, Pokemon. Yes, Pokemon has its own category, and that's solely because I have this box set of Pokemon books, but it doesn't have really an author, and I don't know how else to describe it other than Pokemon. It deserves its own spot, so there you go. Plays, sci-fi, dystopian, graphic novel, fantasy, Christmas. It also deserves its own separate category. Retelling, mystery, magical realism, fairy tales, art books, nature, non-fiction, mythology, romance, cooking, biography, and music. Those are the ones that I have so far because they seemed more fitting for my collection. Of course, I might add a few more details as time goes by, but we'll see about that. Another category that I considered adding was the age range. So if it is a children's book, young adult, and so on. But I don't really care all that much about that precisely. I try and read a little bit of most everything, even if I'm not the intended target audience, let's say. So it's not really something that I have a lot of interest in cataloging for now, but it might be a fun statistic to see in the future. Although I'm pretty sure that adult would be at the top, and then maybe children's actually, because I do own quite a lot of children's classics. I think I had something else I wanted to tell you, but I'm forgetting right now. I'm trying to add every single book that I own, which of course includes the different editions of books that I might have. I will write down the title of the book and then the matching edition. As for my collections, such as short stories or plays, I will mark them as unread until I have read every single story from that book. You can't really see it, I don't think, but this mug just is the most adorable thing in the world. I bought it when I went to London, and now I need to go back to this store because look at it. It is a little donkey and a little pig being friends. I love it so much. Anyway, I just got myself another cup of tea. It is now roughly a week later, I would say. I think that's how long it took me to finally be done. So that means that today I am here to finally share some fun results with all of you. I am a little tired because this was a lot of work, but I do not regret it at all. Quite the opposite, actually. This was so much fun, and it made me realize so many new things about my own collection, which was such a wonderful feeling. So I guess the first thing that I want to share with you is the genres that I ended up including. I ended up including a few more than last time we spoke. I was looking at my collection and was deciding the genres based on that, on what made sense for me to track. This of course might change a little bit. I might add a few more once I read certain books, because there are still a few of them that I'm not sure which genres they would fit in exactly, but for now this is the list I have. Now of course I need to mention both Pokemon and Disney because they deserve their own spot for sure. I do own a box set of Pokemon books, and it wouldn't feel right to not place them in their own special genre, as well as some Disney animated books. These are not the original fairy tales, these are some animated classics inspired by the movies that have some beautiful drawings, and again they deserved their own spot. But other than that, I think these are pretty standard. Another thing that I also want to mention, because actually one of my patrons asked about this, they did get a sneak peek for my video and it was so fun talking to them about this. But yes, someone asked me about the difference between collection and anthology. And basically for me, I wrote down collection for those books that have a lot of works by the same author, and the anthology includes works from different authors. Looking at this, it makes me very happy. I think it is a nice variety of genres on my collection. However, what I loved seeing the most was how many countries I have on my bookshelves. I think that's such a wonderful thing to see, and for some reason it made me feel a little emotional when I was writing down the list of all the countries and thinking how amazing it is that we get to see the world through books. And of course one day I'm hoping to visit many of these places, but while I can't, this is a good start, I think. So this is the list of countries that I have. We have 46 countries, which again makes me very happy, but this is actually something that I would like to improve on, meaning that I would like to have many more countries represented on my bookshelves. So this is mainly the part where I'm asking specifically for your recommendations. If you have any recommendations from any country in the world, especially if they're not on the list yet, because I would love to add so many more. This was also fun because there were a lot of authors that I for some reason thought were either American or English, but turns out a lot of the time they weren't. They had either parents from other countries and therefore were born in a completely different place, or they lived most of their lives in a completely different country as well, and that's so fun to find out. I have to say I wasn't expecting to have this many countries on my collection, so this was a very nice surprise. And again, please give me all your recommendations that you might have, even if the country is already on the list, because for a few of those I only have one book from, so I'm always happy to hear your thoughts and suggestions, of course. The country that I own the most books from is definitely England, and as for the genres, I would say that the one that I have the most is definitely classics, which I don't think is a big surprise to anyone. But now, of course, let's go to the results that you are probably most looking forward to seeing. Like I told you before, this is the number of every single book that I own, which means that this includes repeated editions of books, which can change the results a little bit. So for instance, for the unread pile, I have a specific number here, which is not exactly correct because it does include a few multiple editions of books. So it's probably a little less than this, but it's still fun to look at. So with all that said, the amount of books that I own in total is 712 books, which is a lot. And looking at this, I feel so grateful for all the people who helped me build this collection, because I can guarantee you pretty much that most of this, or at least a big part, were gifts. Like I told you, I have been building this collection for a while now. Of course, it has taken me years, but I don't know, it means a lot to me that people know how much I love reading, and they are kind enough and so incredibly generous to help me build my own library, which is amazing. So 712, that's the final number. Out of those, let's see some more fun statistics. So the ones that I am currently reading, we have 5. And then remember when I told you that I also have this so-called special editions, which are like art books and photography, or kind of history books with illustrations and everything. I did have my own category for those as well, and out of those we have 49 special editions. And now for the most fun part, I would say, probably, we have the read pile. And out of my collection, I have read 278 books, which only leaves the unread pile, and if you do the math, you already know the result. So we have 380 books that are unread. Now again, we need to take this with a grain of salt because of the multiple editions, but this is the rough number, and I don't know exactly how to feel about this, to be honest with you. I look at this number and think how lucky I am to know that I still have so many stories behind me that I can find out and fall in love with. I think that's such a beautiful thing, and if there's something that this experience has done for me, is to make me feel even more excited about getting to the books that I actually own. And that's such a big ocean of possibilities, you know. So these are the numbers, these are my numbers, and I'm here to share them with you, not to make you feel better or worse if you have a bigger or smaller unread or read pile. This is such a personal journey. Each one of us is on their own reading journey. It is not a competition. It should not be rushed. So no matter how many books you own or how many books you've read, I just hope that, just like me, you find joy and coziness and this wonderful feeling of escape and losing yourself completely in a world, and with that feeling more empathy for people, putting yourself in their shoes and learning so much from both fiction and non-fiction. That is such a special thing, isn't it? And that's the only thing that matters. I truly hope numbers, if they do make you feel a little intimidated or ashamed even, I truly hope you can look a little bit past that, because nothing in our life that can be reduced to numbers matters. I truly believe that. Life is the other side of things. Life cannot be defined by numbers in any way. At least that's how I view things, and I really hope you had fun watching this video. I would love to hear your thoughts and recommendations as well. If you do something similar with your collection, I would also love to hear about it. Right now my plan is to just keep tracking this, and I might add some new categories in the future, but for now I am happy with these. And anytime I finish a book, I guess I will just write it down and see how these results change over time. I hope I don't forget though, because sometimes I am really bad at keeping track of my own reading. Even on Goodreads and everything, sometimes I forget, but I'm gonna try my best, because this is so much fun and you learn a lot from your own library, which is amazing. That's it from me today. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really hope you're having a wonderful day, and as always, I am sending you all the love, all the hugs, and I will see you again very soon on my next video. Bye everyone!